Jay Willett for CBS News Boston.
Maybe it was the old mullet that ignited a spark.
Don't tell my heart, my head can break.
Billy Ray Cyrus and Elizabeth Hurley have jointly posted an intimate photo to Instagram of the singer planting a kiss on the actress' cheek as they stand in a green pasture in front of a post and beam fence. Deborah Rodriguez, CBS News.
Go from daydreamer to industry leader with Amazon Business. From office supplies to IT essentials, Amazon Business provides tools that help you save costs and make insight-based decisions. Learn how to bring your visions to life at amazonbusiness.com.
Get one free set of brake pads when you buy 2 brake rotors. Visit O'Reilly Auto Parts. Offer in-store only. Restrictions apply. See store for details.
O'Reilly Auto Parts.
Did you know your skin is the largest organ of your body? Huh? That's why you should shower with Old Spice Super Hydration Body Wash instead of plain old bar soap. Love your skin by super hydrating it with vitamin B3 and glorious notes of vanilla and shea. Did you know that my super hydrated skin is the second largest organ of my body? The first is my heart. Old Spice. Men have skin too. Old Spice Super Hydration Body Wash. 24/7 renewing moisture. With daily use.
WGNS Murfreesboro, W270AF Murfreesboro, W263AI Murfreesboro, Smyrna. We're the Good Neighbor Network, FM 101.9 and AM 1450 Murfreesboro, FM 100.5 Smyrna. Audio and video streaming at wgnsradio.com. This is the WGNS Action Line, talking with Rutherford County newsmakers about what matters most to you. Now your host, Scott Walker.
Right now that time, 8:17, you're tuned to WGNS on this Monday morning, today the 21st of April. In studio with us today from MTSU, we're going to be talking about the Nope, let me back up there. I had the wrong segment on here. Okay, we're going to be talking with Dr. Deborah Lee, holder of the NHC Chair of Excellence in Nursing, and also the, and by the way, that's at the MTSU Director of the Positive Aging Consortium, and Dr. Brandon Grubbs with us as well, Associate Professor of Exercise Physiology and co-founder of the Positive Aging Consortium. How are both of y'all doing this morning?
We are great.
Fantastic.
We are so glad to be here.
Well, good. So I guess tell us first a little bit about this project.
Well, we are thrilled to let your listeners know that in December, MTSU became the first university and only currently university in all of Tennessee to receive the Age-Friendly University designation. We are one of over 110 universities across the world. It is a global network, and it covers 5 continents. And with Tennessee coming on board in December, we now have 36 of our 50 states that are now age-friendly university designated. So we are thrilled about that, and we can certainly talk about what that means.
Yeah, so how do you go about being picked for that?
Well, there's an application process, and so there are 10 principles of an age-friendly university. So that means what are we doing at the university to promote positive opportunities for older adults, especially around education. So what are policies and practices that are in place that support educational opportunities for older adults? And so the application asks you to apply for at least 2 of those in which you are doing activities. We submitted an application with 4. Actually, we had 6 developed, and we chose to just go with 4. So there are 4 areas that we are very strong in at MTSU that makes us friendly to older adults who wanting to pursue educational opportunities.
And then just out of curiosity, what exactly is an older adult? What age does that start at to be considered that?
I always hate answering that because people get depressed when they hear it. It varies a little bit. The network is not real specific about it, but we kind of have looked, when we looked at data at our university, we really looked at people 50 and over as older adults. And that's really when you start getting into a little bit older, middle-aged individuals. We do have programs at the university that are specifically targeted for people actually 60 and over in terms of taking classes at a reduced rate. From typical tuition costs or 60 and over who can audit a class for free at the university. So those are two examples at MTSU, really based on your age, that are available to you that are not available to people younger than that age.
And what are some of those older adults doing at MTSU? What types of programs are they involved with?
Well, so we have some great opportunities in our educational bandwidth. So we have a prior learning assessment that anybody coming in can get. Older adults get opportunities to pursue a bachelor's degree, and they get credit for their work experience. So some of those are programs in public safety, applied leadership, and professional studies. We also have a Master of Arts in Liberal Arts for individuals who maybe already have a bachelor's degree and want to pursue a master's degree. And that also is an opportunity for interdisciplinary, cross-discipline educational opportunities with lots of flexibility. And part of that flexibility is online courses. So especially if you're a working older adult, you don't have time to come to the university during the day, you can take online classes that you can do on your own time. And we also have evening classes in a lot of those programs. So those are just a couple of the examples that we have at MTSU.
Now, when you look at the different ages of those who live in Tennessee, what is the fastest growing demographic?
Well, it is people 60 and older. So shockingly to most people, by 2030, which is not that far away, we will have, in the United States and Tennessee too, we're going to have more people who are 60 and over than we will people that are 18 and under for the first time in the history of this country.
Now, where do other states rank when you look at their ranking as far as older adults or those who are 60 plus?
Well, some states, well, if you look at some of the bigger, state-wise, it's pretty similar actually, but if you look at younger populations, the density of those people tend to be in bigger cities. So like New York City, Los Angeles, Chicago, they're going to see more younger folks living. But, you know, all the states are pretty much rural. So when you get to large rural geographic areas, that tends to be where older adults kind of want to live. It's quieter, you have a nicer pace of life. I know for me, I'm looking more forward to that in my life. So it's really dispersed pretty widely throughout the United States. But we do have a little bit older population here in Tennessee. So one of the things we're excited about is we want to contribute as part of the age-friendly ecosystem, which includes healthcare systems, public health, home and community-based services, and universities are also part of an age-friendly ecosystem.
Now, with MTSU being user-friendly for those who are 60 plus years of age, do you have other universities coming to you asking questions, you know, hey, what can we do, or how did you go about doing this?
Yeah, so Dr. Grubbs, you want to talk about what we're doing in July, the presentation we're doing?
Sure. We're headed to Fall Creek Falls to participate in a Department of Health gathering. It's a symposium on collaborating with other academic institutions. And so as the only university right now in Tennessee with the AFU designation, we will be sharing that process with other universities in the state. And so we'll be able to connect with them and tell them share with them what MTSU is doing. We can share with them the process that we went through for information and data gathering, and kind of where the next 5 years looks for us and where we plan to devote our time and energy. And I'm hoping that I'm also listed as someone that can act as a mentor for other universities interested in pursuing that designation. So hopefully after this meeting, we'll have made some good connections and we can guide other universities in Tennessee to follow our lead.
Now, with this demographic, it would make sense, I guess, for a university like MTSU to also do a little research with this demographic. I mean, if this is such a growing demographic here in Tennessee, so what does that look like in that form? Are you going to do research surrounding this age group?
Oh, 100%. And my expertise is in geroscience, which is very translational, taking things that we learn in the lab, aging biology science, and translating that into something therapeutic, something very applied that the public can benefit from. And so, as Debbie mentioned, we had listed 6 areas for the application, but we decided to go with 4. And one of the 2 that we then identified as where we would devote a lot of our time and energy is to increasing aging research productivity at the university. And so that really that starts with really discovering all the faculty at MTSU that are serving as an aging expert and are research active, and getting them all together in a room and kind of I'm envisioning doing a little bit of a speed dating, getting people to connect with each other, developing some innovative groups and some novel projects that could be funded through the state or some federal funding, and some things that I'm currently doing in the lab at MTSU in collaboration with my colleague Dr. John Coons have to do with using aquatic therapy, which is using underwater treadmills that are temperature controlled to serve as a intervention for knee osteoarthritis. So people that are not quite to the point of needing an invasive surgery like a knee replacement, but also not at the beginning stages of the disease development. So we're also interested in using that therapy for treating overall physical frailty. So those are just some of the areas that we're interested in, but we hope to collaborate with nearby universities like Vanderbilt to support this endeavor.
Now, those who are 60 plus, do they have a larger disposable income to actually spend on things and to cover expenses of things like treadmilling, underwater?
Well, I think that can be highly variable. And I think that depends on what kind of the location of the people that we're talking about. One of the things we would like to do is to create a low income therapy program that's supported by the Aquatic Research Laboratory so that we can support those in need. Otherwise, therapy outside of health insurance is actually quite expensive. And so people are then reliant on cash pay systems to support any sort of personal training or outside the clinic rehabilitation. So it really is variable, but this is older adults are an underserved population, and so this is just one way that we hope to support that group.
And those older adults, are they returning to MTSU so that they can go back to the career field and maybe get a promotion? Are they already in business? Are they already working for somebody? Or what does that look like?
That is also very variable. So, for example, the MALA program, the Masters of Arts and Liberal Arts, has an average age of 55, but a student age range of 20 to 70, 78. And so some of these students are just seeking continued personal development, just enjoy education and want to continue to learn, while others that are taking advantage of the PLA program and the Masters of Professional Studies, those are individuals that are looking to acquire new skill sets to either enhance their resume and look for promotion or to switch careers. So we have a variety of individuals that are taking advantage of those different programs.
And I know we're almost out of time already, but I'm curious, how can people learn more about this, or how can they, if they're 60 plus, how can they get involved with some of this?
Well, I am happy to share with people that we have a website for the Positive Aging Consortium, which is really the lead group within the university for the age-friendly university. We are mtsu.edu/PAC, which stands for Positive Aging Consortium. So mtsu.edu/PAC. And I'm really happy to announce also something new that's just happened, is that we have announced that April 17th next year of 2026, we will be holding our third Positive Aging Conference at the Miller Education Center. So we've had two really successful conferences. Those are for older adults to really give you ideas and opportunities to enhance your own living. So we hope that lots of folks will turn out for that.
Sounds good. Again, Dr. Deborah Lee and Dr. Brandon Grubbs in studio with us this morning from MTSU. We appreciate you guys joining us.
Thank you so much.
Right now, that time, 8:30. Stay with us. We do have more coming up in just a second. Again, it is 8:30 right now. Stay with us.
The Action Line on FM 101.9 and AM 1450 Murfreesboro, FM 100.5 Smyrna. Listen and watch at wgnsradio.com.
Hi, Hi, this is Amanda from Animal City, inviting your family to come do business with my family. You can find us at 919 Northwest Broad Street here in Murfreesboro. Whether your pup prefers to play indoors or outdoors, we have the toy for them here at Animal City. And while you're shopping local at Animal City, be sure to check out our featured products made right here in the USA. We are very proud to be family-owned and serving Murfreesboro since 1990. Animal City, 919 Northwest Broad Street in Murfreesboro.
Rutherford County's 24th annual Earth Day celebration is Saturday, April 26th, 10 to 2 on the Murfreesboro Square. Middle Tennessee Electric is proud to be the primary sponsor and organizer. Free fun for the whole family, April 26th on the Square. rcearthday.com for more info.
Do you love to read?
Love to read.
Tell us about the library at Adams Place.
We have an amazing library. It's like a library at a big estate. You know, there are just so many books. You just come, pick out one you want, take it home, read it, take it back. It's just great.
Hi, this is Terry Deal at Adams Place. Call me for more information about Adams Place. Phone 615-904-9111.
Adams Place on Memorial, across from Walmart.
The Action Line on FM 101.9 and AM 1450 Murfreesboro, FM 100.5 Smyrna. Listen and watch at wgnsradio.com.
Right now that time, 8:32. And now joining us in studio, we have Dr. Kim Cleary-Sadler, Professor of Biology Education. How are you doing this morning?
I'm doing great. How are you?
I'm good. So flowers and much more. Tell us a little bit about what is coming up with the Wildflower Festival.
So we have, this is a partnership that the Center for Cedar Glade Studies at MTSU has with Cedars of Lebanon State Park, and more recently Long Hunter State Park, where this weekend we celebrate the wildflowers of cedar glades. And cedar glades are a really unique and interesting ecosystem that we have here in Middle Tennessee that very few people know about that have lived there their entire lives. And they're characterized by these flat rocks, outcropping, and varying soil depths. But this time of year in particular, it's just a flower garden. It's just beautiful jewels blooming.
If you would pull that mic down a little bit further.
You bet.
But this has been going on for the celebration almost 50 years now, right?
That is correct. So this started out as a companion to, there is a wildflower pilgrimage in the Smokies. So Cedars of Lebanon said, hey, let's do one here with these beautiful jewels that we have here in the Cedar Glades. And so that's what initiated that. We are in the 47th year, and in 2008 we renamed the festival after a professor at Vanderbilt, Dr. Elsie Quarterman. And she launched that naming and was with us until she turned 104, and amazing.
You know, Tennessee is a much more biodiverse state, I think, than people really realize. And the variety of plants that we have here is pretty remarkable.
It really is, and it's exciting to see. We have a lot of people moving here from different parts of the country that have, grown up around a very different type of vegetation. And it's really, the center's excited to share with everybody these different beautiful rare plants that we have. There's just really more than 25 different species that are unique, that are endemic to Cedar Glades. And people may have them in their backyard and they don't know about them, and they don't know really to protect them or how to do that.
Now, this festival, it covers not only Cedars of Lebanon, but then also Long Hunter State Park. And if anybody would like to get some more information on it, how can they do that?
So there's actually 3 ways that you can do that. You can you can go to the MTSU website, which is, should I say that, Scott? Or
sure,
just go ahead and give it out? So it's www.mtsu.edu and then a /Glade, GLADE-center, CENTER, www.mtsu/Glade-center. Or you can go to the events page for Cedars of Lebanon and or Long Hunter State Park as well.
Now, one of the, I think, kind of fascinating things about Tennessee is all the limestone, and the limestone Cedar Glades is especially interesting just because you've got not only plants, but trees growing in almost no soil whatsoever. I mean, they're literally growing on tops of rocks.
Exactly, and it's a little bit misleading because the limestone it's easily dissolved by rainwater, and it forms cracks. And once those cracks develop, let's say, really the story of Cedar Glades is not about the cedars, which are actually junipers, but it's about the opening, the glady open spot. But at any rate, back to the cedars, that crack will form, and then the cedar will go ahead and begin germinating there, and as it grows, the crack gets larger, the taproot grows longer, et cetera, and then the tree establishes itself.
It's wild how life adapts to the area, the environment that it's in.
It's so incredible. And really the thing that we have learned is that the story of the glades, again, it's about the open spot. And really to maintain glades, you need to maintain that opening. And what did it historically was actually fire. And we, again, we have to use a lot of caution in that. But the way that these open areas are maintained would be through currently controlled burns.
Again, Kim Sadler with us this morning, professor of biology education at MTSU. I'm curious, with students today, how interested are they in things like plants and flowers and everything?
Oh, that's such a great question. And again, you can't protect what you don't know, and what you don't care about. And I'm finding that students are fascinated. And I have a class that I teach in the fall where we go out and we do research on the soil of the cedar glade. And a lot of people want to call soil dirt, but really it's not. It's a vital living ecosystem all unto itself. And they're just fascinated to learn about the relationship of the soil to the kinds of plants that live there. And we know there's some connection because these plants, these endemic plants, we don't find them, for example, in the Smoky Mountains. They're not there. They're here in this unique ecosystem. Like you said, lots of sun. And in the winter, they're in standing water, and they have wonderful adaptations that allow that to be so.
Are we still learning more about plants today, and are we able to tie those plants to the medical field as well?
Yeah, that's a really great question. And, when you introduce people to Cedar Glades, they're like, well, what good is this? And the thing is that 1/4 of medicinal plants today are, they are from let me rephrase that. 1/4 of medications today are from medicinal plants. And we learn about the plant, and then we understand the biochemistry. And so why would we want to protect these? It's because we probably won't know what we lost if we don't protect it in the first place.
But it is fascinating how scientists, it does seem like there is so much more to learn out there that we just have barely reached hardly any level at all yet.
That is so true. It really is. And if really the secret, of course, is not taking these plants and trying to grow them in a greenhouse, but trying to maintain them in the habitat in which it is that they live. And the thing that's so, I guess, redeeming about Cedar Glades, even though a high percentage of them are lost, is that they're not very conducive to growing corn on or, building houses because of, the rocky infrastructure. The soils don't perk.
Now, do you take a group of students or do you ask the students to go to these events?
I actually am not. This year is a little bit unique in that I'm not bringing students with me, but this is an open invitation. We would be thrilled to have anybody and everybody come and learn a little bit. We've got a full agenda. We start with an evening program where we have one of the botanists 40 years ago that was key to the legislation of the Tennessee Rare Plants Act, and that's Paul Summers. And then the state botanist, Todd Crabtree, MTSU grad. He will also be speaking that evening and, just sharing some wonderful things about the rare plants in Tennessee.
We got a lot of them?
Pardon me?
A lot of rare plants in Tennessee?
We do. We actually do. And really, 5 miles from where we're sitting, we have Pines ground plum, which wasn't even known, really new to science until the late 80s, discovered by, at the time, Milo Guthrie. That was kind of a trade name he used, but Milo pine. And it's a wonderful, wonderful plant. We also have the poster child of conservation, the Tennessee coneflower, which occurs at Long Hunter. So let me say this. These plants, there's no one glade that has all of the rare plants in it all together. But at Long Hunter, you can see the upcoming Tennessee coneflower, which was actually on the cover of our phone book for a while. And the thing that's wonderful about this plant is, it's not all bad, Dad. We learned about this plant. We learned how it grows, where it grows, and why it does, how does it set seed. And once we figured that out, we were able to take this plant and put it in protected areas. And so it's a conservation success story. So it went from federally endangered to now it's on the threatened species list. Isn't that cool?
That is. And again, for those listening, the Elsie Quarterman Cedar Glade Wildflower Festival, that's going to be May 2nd through the 3rd at Cedars of Lebanon State Park, and then May 4th at Long Hunter State Park. And there are going to be things like bird watching, nature hikes, gardening workshops, and more. But there's going to be a lot going on there.
There's going to be a whole lot going on. And if you're interested, particularly if you've just moved here to Middle Tennessee, in the morning at 9 o'clock, there will be there'll be somebody actually showing you the native plants that you can grow in your yard. And again, the box stores have all these plants that we buy year after year. They live and they die. But if you're going to really make a good investment in your landscaping, hey, why not plant native plants that will, even if they're annuals, they'll reseed and they'll come back year after year. And the perennials, the native perennials, they'll do the same.
Now, most of the events that are going on, they're going to be free, right?
That is correct. Most of them are free, and we're asking you to register through the Cedars of Lebanon events page and through Long Hunter. You'll be asked for a donation, but there is no pressure to do that. Those that have no charge, just say zero and go ahead and sign yourself up. Some of them do have a small fee to cover materials.
Now, I know over the past 12 months or so, there's been new legislation come out. There's been special bills, I guess, kind of marking certain areas, I think 2 in Rutherford County, in fact. But there's the rare plants, the rare plant legislation. Tell us a little bit more about that one.
So it was, again, as our botanists and individuals who worked in this area began to notice, we have this unique Middle Tennessee. We're basically a thumbprint depression in the state, which brought us all the way down to this limestone rock. Began noticing that we have rare plants here, and again, we have rare plants in other places of Tennessee. And again, as development proceeds, which is, of course, a natural course of things, it was deemed that, hey, we can't keep these plants alive in the greenhouse. We have to protect the habitat in which it is that they live. And so that brought forth the legislation for the protection of these rare plants in Tennessee.
Interesting. And again, if anybody would like to learn more about these activities, that Elsie Quarterman Cedar Glade Wildflower Festival is going to be May 2nd through the 3rd, and then that's at Cedars Lebanon, then May 4th at Long Hunter State Park. But all of these events are right around the corner, and pre-register for some of them, right?
Right, that's right. And just so we can, keep up with the numbers of people as well, and maybe just a little bit of a pitch, we're also selling a little booklet that the MTSU Center for Cedar Glade Studies and the Tennessee Native Plant Society we just published. It's called Limestone Cedar Glades, an introduction to some common and rare species. So it's a booklet that has more than 100 species of plants that you'll find in cedar glades, and it's not marketed yet, but it will be available for just for a small fee to cover the printing cost at the festival.
That sounds great. Again, with us in studio, Dr. Kim Clary-Sadler, Professor of Biology Education at MTSU, and thank you for joining us.
Thank you so much for inviting me.
That time right now, 8:45. Stay with us. We do have more news coming up in just a second.
This is Peter Demas, and our family is inviting your family to come eat with us at Demas's Restaurant. We're trying to give them a place where they can eat with their family that's not fast food. We want to create an atmosphere where we can sit down and just have a good old-fashioned family dinner. But unfortunately now, most people can't do it at home. So, two people are working, the kids' activities, and so what we're doing is we provide that, and we make it affordable. Come eat with us at Demas's Restaurant on Northwest Broad Street.
Friends? Yes. The financial partners whom you've built a relationship with at Old National Bank are still at the Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. Boulevard location, right here in the borough. And so are the warm, homemade cookies.
Cookies are ready, dear.
Like Grandma used to make. If you need online and mobile banking, Murfreesboro's Old National Bank does that too. You and Old National Bank, better together.
Old National Bank at 2230 Dr. MLK Jr. Boulevard. Old National Bank, member FDIC.
The Action Line on FM 101.9 and AM 1450 Murfreesboro, FM 100.5 Smyrna. Listen and watch at wgnsradio.com.
The time right now, 8:46. You're tuned to WGNS. Dr. Andrew Fialco with us today, Associate Professor of History at MTSU, and a brand new book is out. Tell us a little bit about this new book. What is it called, and why is it so different from other books in history?
It is called, well, first of all, thank you for having me on the show. I really appreciate it. The book is called Hope Never to See It, and it is a graphic history. The reason why that's different is because people have probably heard of a graphic novel, but those are fiction. They're novels. This is not. This is fully footnoted. Every single panel of artwork is based on primary sources that I found in the archive, and it's got a quarter of the book is endnotes, and it's been through peer review at an academic press.
Now, one of the items you cover, a Union spy's killing spree basically against civilians. Tell us a little bit more about that one.
Yeah, so his the spy's alias was Harry Truman, which is a total irony given that the only Missouri president's name's Harry Truman. But he was kind of sent into the field to out-guerrilla the guerrillas. So there weren't a lot of major battles in Missouri. There was just a lot of guerrilla violence, what we would call an insurgency today. So the Union used sort of an ad hoc intelligence system of spies and scouts and guides, and he was one of them, but he had a hardcore drinking problem, and that kind of caught up to him, and he started going after guerrilla suppliers, and they reined him in after that a little bit.
And then the brutal massacre of U.S. troops, and that was done, I guess, by the Confederate, right? And one particular leader?
Yes, so pro-Confederate guerrillas had kind of formed these small bands, but Will Anderson, his nickname was Bloody Bill Anderson, he was sort of the most ruthless, and so he had the ability to sort of get all the bands together. And he was able to get about 400 guys together in Centralia, and they committed a massacre after a train robbery, and some Union troops saw the massacre and gave chase to the guerrillas and went right into an ambush. And this is where the bigger massacre in my book is about.
Now, again, both of these are true stories from Civil War era.
Yeah.
That's wild. And also interesting, both of the men, despite their own personal issues and drives, I guess, they had military orders to do these things for the most part, right?
Yeah, I mean, in a very legal gray area sense. And that's kind of what the book explores, is like we like to draw up laws of war, and we like to think that there are rules that people follow. But when you get under pressure and you have alcohol and you're away from your superior officers, all of that sort of kind of goes by the wayside. And so the book explores the ambiguity of war.
Now, these two massacres, where were they, and about how many were killed in each of them?
In the Centralia massacre that the guerrillas led, there was about 150 U.S. troops killed in that. And the U.S. spies sort of killing spree, there was a couple dozen killed or injured, but the violence sort of, after he left, there's a power vacuum, and then people rush in to fill that. So the amount of deaths I found afterwards are somewhere in the 30 range, but refugees, I mean, orphans, there's a lot of things that you can't really put a number on.
Man, it's interesting that we had these types of conflicts right here in the U.S.
Yeah, and a a lot of the research I'm doing now is about, like, what are the numbers? But we don't really have a good sense of, we know the battles. There's 120 sort of major battles like Gettysburg and Antietam and Stones River, but there are tens of thousands of incidents of violence in the Civil War. So this is a sensational story, but a lot of the work that I'm doing now is in border states like Tennessee, Missouri, Kentucky, and this is what was going on. And this, I think, is what people need to open their eyes to, is what we're talking about when we talk about the Civil War.
So what made you want to focus on this and do a book on this?
I sort of fell into it backwards. When I was an undergraduate at the University of Missouri, I had to write an honors thesis, and I just chose the best professor there, and she happened to be the Civil War professor. Her name was Dr. Leanne Weitz. So I sort of fell into the topic area backwards. But this story was so sensational, I sort of, my wife kept on me. I kind of was sneaking it in to articles and anecdotes, and my wife kept saying, you haven't done justice to this story, you haven't done justice to this story. And I had never read any graphic novels. I was unfamiliar with the medium, and someone gave me Watchmen, and I read it, and it just sort of clicked, like, this is how this story needs to take shape.
So how do you find the data? How do you find the historic facts about these battles?
The archive. There's a national archive in D.C., but then every county has an archive, every state has an archive. Nashville's got the Tennessee State Library and Archive. Rutherford County's got their own archive. So the work that we do is a little monotonous. It's a little sit in a room for 8 hours a day and look through dusty volumes, but you just sort of pound away day after day, and it's a lot easier now that things are digitized. I can move a lot faster because of that, but it's just grinding it out.
And then some of the notes that you're reading off of, that while you're making notes yourself, are they letters written home to family members? What are they?
This was about, there was a few major source bases here. One was his court-martial trial, the spy's court-martial trial. So he was tried, he was sentenced to be hung, he was actually let off, but it was a 250-page trial, really rich document. There was also the provost marshal records, what we would call the military police today. They sort of look over occupied territory. He had 4 different provost marshal records under different aliases. And then we had the sort of U.S. Army's official reports. Those are tens of thousands of pages of reports. So I kind of pieced it together through a lot of different sources.
So when you read over, the documents of a trial from a courtroom from that many years ago, is it really different how they would, lay out a case in the courtroom? Does it sound really different as you're reading it?
That's a good question. I'm not a legal historian, so I haven't read a lot of civil cases, and the military justice system is different, rightly so, than civilians. So this was sort of my first foray into that. And it was this very, very legal gray area. One whole chapter is sort of a courtroom drama in the book. I would guess that it's very atypical.
Yeah, it's fascinating that there were that many documents or notes on these two situations.
Yeah, there was massive paper trails, and they're not in the official records.
Yeah.
So you have to go to the provost marshal records. You have to go to newspapers because the U.S. government's take is more focused on those battles, the battlefield drama. It's a much better story.
So some of those who were, I guess, in the courtroom back then, were they families who watched, their father, their son, their daughter, whatever, be killed right in front of them?
Yeah, they were all victims' families. And then cavalry, there was a cavalry company where 20 members were sent to work under the spy. So they testified, his superiors testified, and then all of the victims' families testified.
Now, in these killing sprees, were they usually guns that were used, knives? What was used throughout these?
U.S. Army used rifles, but guerrillas were on horseback almost exclusively, and so they used pistols. And they would have up to 6 pistols on them so that they could fire 36 rounds without reloading and then get the heck out of there. Also Bowie knives, but they had to ambush at very close range because the the weapons that they were using.
Man, that was crazy. And then the other interesting aspect about all of this is that you put it into artwork. You put it into picture what exactly happened. Tell us more about that.
Yeah, that was sort of a revelation for me. I went across the street to Todd Hall, which is MTSU's art department, and I found the guy who teaches sequential art. His name's Doug Dabbs. And I pitched the project to him, and he said, I'm a little too busy right now, but I used to teach at SCAD, Savannah College of Art and Design, and I've got a former student who I think would be perfect for this. So that's kind of how I got into that network of people I didn't know. But when you read all this stuff in text, it's kind of sanitized, and it's easy to read numbers and turn bodies into numbers. And when I visualized it like this, it made me really think about what the heck are we doing here? And so to me, it almost felt like I wasn't writing an academic book anymore, and I was writing a horror story. And that was a bit of a mind trip, and I'm still kind of dealing with how I'm going to move forward in the profession after having this experience.
So this all goes from documents from a courtroom to you interpreting all of that into a story, and then you interpret the story, the same documents, into picture.
Yeah, so I had to write a script for the illustrator, and the script had quotes from primary sources into it, and then I had reference images. And so there was hundreds and hundreds of photographs from the Civil War that I had to send him. I sent him a couple photograph books, these monster tomes of Alexander Gardner and Matthew Brady's famous photography of Civil War battlefields. So he had to do a lot of homework to make sure everything was historically accurate, and I had to get really, really good at writing scripts, and we had to learn how to trust each other in that creative process.
You know, I'm surprised these things have not become a movie at this point.
We're trying, yeah. I just watched a show on Netflix called American Primeval, and it was about like Utah territory in the 1850s. So you've got Mormons and the U.S. Army and settlers and several different Native American tribes. So I shipped a book off to that producer, and you know, the press has their own contacts with the Atlanta movie industry. So I have a vision in my head of what that could look like, and I hope that does happen.
It would be interesting because you're talking about what period of time would be, I guess, if you were to focus for a movie, what period of time would be the focus, from when to when?
I mean, I see this as a bunch of different episodes, and the tie is the Civil War era, and then the sort of violence of that era. But the way I teach it up at the university is sort of, we talk about antebellum America in the 1850s and all the violence that was happening, particularly in places like Missouri and Kansas. And then, of course, the wartime violence. And then the other one that people forget about is Reconstruction, and the fact that the U.S. Army, you win a war, but you still have to enforce your laws, and they can only do that while the Army is in the South. And it's pretty hectic for a decade. People know about the Klan. They know less about all the black militias that were fighting the Klan, and just how violent it was.
I know we only have about a minute and a half left, but when you talk to groups about this book, did they, or do people realize how gruesome it was back then during these Civil War times, or certain battles were exclusively gruesome compared to others?
There's a split between academia and the public. I think in the public's mind, the Civil War has been romanticized and glorified. And so when people think of Vietnam or Iraq and Afghanistan, they do think of brutality and savagery and things being gruesome. But the Civil War's been a little whitewashed. And one of the points of this book was to say, no. It wasn't whitewashed. It was very gruesome. So I think people, when they see this and I say that, they go, oh yeah, that's obvious. Why wouldn't it be that way?
Again, the brand new book, it is Hope Never to See It, A Graphic History of Guerrilla Violence During the American Civil War. And we're already out of time, but real quick, can you find this book on Amazon? Can you find it locally? Where can you find it?
Anywhere books are sold. Amazon is just fine.
Sounds good. Well, thank you again for joining us.
Thank you.
Time right now, 8:59. Stay with us. We have more news coming up next.
Scattered showers and storms likely for this afternoon, highs in the mid-70s. Lingering chance for a shower or storm, especially early on tonight, with a low of 58. I'm meteorologist Michael Caron, News Radio WGNS. Right now, 70 degrees.
Now, an update from the WGNSradio.com News Center.
Federal charges have been filed against the developers of a failed $350 million sports complex once planned for Murfreesboro. The Legacy Sports Tennessee project, set for landoff on Northwest Broad Street near I-840, was originally backed by local officials in Murfreesboro and Rutherford County. But after years of delay, the plan collapsed as fraud allegations surfaced against Randy and Chad Miller of Arizona. Prosecutors allege that the Millers used forged documents and inflated financial data to raise over $250 million in bonds. Rather than invest in the sports facilities, they allegedly spent the funds on personal luxuries like homes, vehicles, and salaries. The Arizona facility, meant to serve as a model for Murfreesboro, sold for just a fraction of its debt, and the Millers now face charges including wire fraud and identity theft in federal court. Meanwhile, Tennessee lawmakers continue to push immigration reform. A new chief immigration enforcement officer has been appointed to lead a division created earlier this year.